you guys, welcome back to my channel for another video. Today we are going to talk about something super important we can be doing in our homeschools, and that is teaching news literacy to our kids. So grab your cup of coffee or tea, get comfy, and let's chat about just a couple of ways we can help our kids become savvy consumers of news these days. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Sara, a homeschool mom to 4 kids. My oldest son will be 13 this month. I can't believe it. My twin daughters will be 11, and my youngest is 5 and doing kindergarten this year. I've been homeschooling since my oldest was in kindergarten, and each year is a new adventure. And I love sharing what I've learned and am learning with all of you on my blog and this YouTube channel. All right, let's jump into the topic of this video, news literacy. What is news literacy? What do I mean by that? News literacy is the ability to critically evaluate news and information from various sources. It involves understanding how news is produced, recognizing bias and misinformation, and being able to distinguish between credible and unreliable information. Now, how we access news has definitely changed over the years. When I was a kid, I remember my dad being all about the news each day. We got a newspaper delivered to our house. He listened to news shows on the radio, and when he got home from work, I knew the TV was off limits because it was time for watching the news. It's very different these days. How we access news tends to be different for the most part. For example, most of the news that I read is online through websites or social media or through podcasts or newsletters. Which means that maybe my interest in the news and what's going on in the world isn't as apparent to my kids as it was to me as a kid, seeing my dad engage with news media in different ways. So I want to be intentional about teaching my kids how to not only be good news consumers, but give them skills related to news literacy. Because with all the information out there these days, it's really crucial for our kids to learn how to sift through it and find what's true and trustworthy. They are bombarded with information from countless sources, we all are, and not all of it is reliable. So without critical thinking and news literacy skills, it's really easy to default to bias and believe misinformation without a second thought. It's easy for me to do this sometimes as an adult. I really have to watch myself, so I can only imagine how hard it's going to continue to get for my kids as they grow up and technology continues to advance. The good news is, though, that as homeschoolers, we have this unique opportunity to teach our kids these essential skills. We can integrate it into our everyday lessons. We can take the time that we want to explore current events and discuss multiple perspectives. We can teach our kids about bias and logical fallacies and how to think critically and independently. I don't know about you, but I want my kids to be thoughtful, informed citizens who can hold their own in this crazy information overload world we live in right now. Sounds like a tall order, but we're going to do our best. Now, I am far from an expert on news literacy, but as you guys know, that's one of the beautiful things about homeschooling, that we get to learn alongside our kids. We don't have to be immediate experts in order to teach our kids something. So that being said, I just wanted to share with you guys a couple of practical tips and resources that you might be able to use to help teach news literacy at home. Starting from the beginning, we can teach our kids about different types of media and news sources. So aside from the apps on our phone or websites on our computers, we can be intentional about showing them things like magazines, TV news, blogs, newspapers maybe, and even what ads and sponsored content are, what those look like, simply to teach them that these different sources exist, what different types of information look like, and how to discern between news, opinion, and plain old entertainment. We can also explain what to look for in terms of credibility and why some sources might be more reliable than others. I am going to leave a link in the description for you to check out, but I found that Common Sense Media has a page with a ton of links, a lot of links that will help you teach your kids about news and media literacy. One of the links I found when I was looking at their page was something called Checkology. And this is a free comprehensive curriculum that you can check out if you're looking for an actual curriculum or something like that. But they also have a bunch of links broken down by specific topics. So for example, there is a section on teaching your kids about journalism and journalism ethics. There were resources for teaching how to spot myths and disinformation, and so on. They've done a great job of rounding all this up in one place. So you'll want to bookmark this page for sure, and then kind of pick and choose the things that you want to focus on in your homeschool. An idea that comes to mind is maybe picking one of the topics each month to focus on, and then doing just a little bit every day during morning time or whenever to teach that topic to your kids. And this is really going to depend on your kids' ages, right? For example, if you have older kids, you're probably going to be able to go more in depth in discussing some of the ways that you consume news and how your kids can do this. My kids are still a bit young for some of the things that I use. We don't allow social media for them, and they don't necessarily want to listen to news podcasts or read emails like I do, because it's boring to them. And I get that. I always thought all the news my parents watched was boring too. But at the same time, my oldest, like I said, is going to be 13 this month. And while he's still not that old, I want him to be informed about important things happening in our country and in our world, and to start to learn why it's important to be an informed and thoughtful citizen. So one of the ways that we're being intentional about sharing news with our kids and actually getting them excited about tuning in and learning what's going on in the world is by watching World Watch News in our homeschool. You've probably heard of it. This has become a lunchtime tradition for us, and my kids love it. If you don't know what World Watch News is, it's a 10-minute segment each day that's produced by Christian journalists, and it covers current headlines along with all sorts of other topics and subjects. I love that it's a way that all of my kids can watch the news, be informed about current events and things going on around the world, but without any of the things you might have in a regular news show that might not be appropriate for younger kids. Earlier this year, one of my marathons was in Asheville, North Carolina, which just happens to be where one of the World Watch News studios is located. The other one is in Charlotte, I believe. But I reached out to them, and we actually got to take a little tour of the building and meet a couple of reporters who were there. They were so nice, and my kids got such a kick out of it, speaking to these guys who they watch on this show every day. So it was a lot of fun, but definitely check out World Watch News if you haven't yet. In fact, this month I am actually partnering with them for my monthly giveaway. They are generously giving away an entire year of World Watch News for free. So I will leave a link to the giveaway in the description of this video. Make sure you check that out and enter for a chance to win. Okay, another big thing I want to mention is simply to make sure your kids know how to distinguish between facts and opinions in the things that they read or hear. This is key to understanding bias. And did you know that there are a lot of different types of biases? So like I said, maybe this is common knowledge, but I'm learning a lot about this with my kids. So let me share another resource with you that I am really enjoying. I picked up this book at a recent homeschool convention. It was actually part of a set of books by Connor Boyack. I think I'm saying his name right. But he writes The Tuttle Twins. So I'll show you the rest of the books in a second. This is actually part of a set, but I highly recommend getting it if you have older kids. I think it'll depend on your kids, but definitely middle school age, right around there. 12 plus is what they recommend on their website. However, I learned a lot by reading this book. It is really good. Beware your bias. It's an easy read. It's got short chapters. Things are broken down and explained really well. And the author does a really great job of giving a little story to go along with each bias he's explaining so your kids can see it in action. So go check this out if you have older kids. It's a great resource. So like I said, it came with a set. I actually bought them all together because it was a better deal. So this first one was Beware Your Bias. And just so you can see a couple of other ones that came with the set. This is one on logical fallacies. This is another really great one, Modern Villains. And then we've got Inspiring Entrepreneurs and Courageous Heroes. You can certainly give your kids these books to read on their own, but although it's maybe not your typical read aloud book, I think it would be really, really valuable to read aloud if you have a few older-ish kids so that you can then have some discussions from it, such as helping them see practical implications in their own lives from what they're reading. But if you don't read them aloud, at least read them yourself. So like I said, you can still have those good discussions. And for the record, we recently discovered the Tuttle twins and my kids are now obsessed with them. Maybe you guys already know about them. They're not new, they're just new to us. They have an animated series that is great. You can watch it for free on the Angel Studios app and our entire family likes it. So just a little bonus tip there. But anyway, once you teach your kids about things like bias or logical fallacies, practice spotting these things with them in any media that they are consuming. See if they can find examples for you in things they read or conversations that they hear. That's why I also recommend reading these books yourself so you understand things like bias and fallacies, if there's things that you're not familiar with, and you can have good conversations with your kids about those things. So these are just a couple of things that we currently use to start building some of those news literacy skills with our kids. It's not a lot, but it's a start, at least for my kids and their ages, I think. World Watch News is great for any age. The entire family will enjoy it, and it's just a great way to start having conversations and helping your kids build critical thinking skills as they consume news. And I love that they are doing that in our homeschool while I can shepherd them and have those discussions with them. If you're looking for some more practical applications, I think it can be pretty easy to integrate news literacy skills into your current homeschool curriculum, whatever you're using. In social studies, you can analyze news articles related to historical events, maybe discuss current political issues. That's a big one right now, right? Or look at media covering global conflicts, just to help your kids understand different perspectives and also the importance of having reliable sources. Such good skills to have. And then in language arts, you can always use news articles to practice reading comprehension, identify bias, and things like rhetoric and persuasive language. For science, if your kids are older, you might review reports on scientific discoveries or environmental issues, and just really teach your kids to discern between peer-reviewed research and sensationalized news, or how different media reports the same data. Okay, so, a lot of these are conversations that are gonna come up naturally, possibly, just as you're doing life with your kids. And we have such a great opportunity in homeschooling to study these things with our kids. And teaching news literacy, while not necessarily its own curriculum, is such an important part of preparing our kids to be informed, critical thinkers in today's world. So that's all I got for you guys. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I hope these few tips just gave you some ideas. I would love to hear your thoughts, tips, and ideas for teaching news literacy in the comments, so feel free to leave those below before you go. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.